Hello YouTubers, Joshua724 here. So obviously a lot of stuff has been going on since my last video upload. Part of the reason I had first started YouTube was a sort of occupational therapy to deal with my mom getting cancer and dying of it. Then I got a job. I was dealing with my dad's roller coaster of emotions after my mom had died, helping him take care of his finances. So I just sort of gave up. Most recently, he got a stroke because he wasn't taking care of his own health, so I quit my job to help take care of him. In the meantime, I decided to get back into YouTube. Recently, I decided that I was fed up with the way my SONY Earbuds were working on my extension cable, so I decided to modify it. Now, the main issue is that my extension cable is wired for 3 contact points. The tip, which will be the left audio channel, the ring, which will be the right audio channel, and the sleeve, which will be ground. My SONY earbuds have 4 contact points. The tip is left, ring 1 is right, ring 2 is ground, and the sleeve is the microphone. Now, some of you might be asking, does this mean some headphones are not compatible with some headphone jacks? If you buy a headset or earbud with a microphone built in and plug that into your phone, tablet, or stereo system to listen to music, it will probably work just fine. I just decided to rewire my earbuds because I was fairly certain the issue was that the contacts inside my extender cable were shorting between the ground, microphone, and right earbud connections. Now, with all the Radio Shack retail stores being gone, this meant that I would have to go with Amazon.com to get my replacement tip. Getting the cheapest one should work just as well as getting a gold-plated connection. This is for basic audio, so it doesn't have to be fancy. However, depending on the one you get, the wiring may not be standard. The way audio is traditionally supposed to be wired is, right is always supposed to be red, left is always supposed to be black or white, or I've even seen it green. And ground, that's either going to be white, copper with translucent plastic around it, or just bare copper. However, and because I bought this some time ago, I didn't notice this until now, the wiring for the particular tip I bought was different. Left was red, right was white, and black was ground. Was this going to make my situation more complicated? No. It just meant that I would be making notes for myself for clarity as I went along. Now, at the time I did this, it didn't occur to me to take pictures of what I did. However, I did find random pictures on the internet to describe how each part of this process is going to look. All I have to worry about is getting demonetized. But that's what Patreon is for. When I cut off the end of the SONY earbuds and strip back the wiring, what I find is cable similar to a DC power supply or a telephone drop wire. Basically, 2 wires coated in plastic or PVC connected at the plastic. You can pull them apart to separate them without ruining the integrity of the individual wires. After pulling those apart, I stripped off the plastic coating to uncover a wire covered with some type of film to insulate it against the copper wrapped around it. On one side, the film is colored red. The other side of the wire, the film is colored green. There is also a separate blue wire itself covered in PVC. That would be the microphone cable. Now, all the wire is stranded. This means it will be difficult to separate the ground wires from the film-coated wires. Even more so, it makes all the wires more fragile because it won't take much effort for any one of the strands to break off. Also, because the wires are separated only by a film, I will have to figure out a means by which to keep the wires separated after I burn off the film to solder the wires together. Eventually, I separate the copper from the left and right wire strands and twist the copper cables together. At this point, I just have to match the right wires with the left, right, and ground connection. As such, the green coated wire on the earbuds goes to the red wire on the replacement jack. The red coated wire on the earbuds goes to the white wire on the replacement jack. The bare copper wire on the earbuds goes to the black wire on the replacement jack. Before I solder everything, let's get some heatsink on the cable to make sure the wires stay protected. Now that that's done, and everything is soldered, how do I figure out how to keep the wires from touching each other while keeping the connection stable so that the wire strands don't break off? Some Scotch Magic tape around the wires is the easiest solution I can come up with. I slide the heat shrink over that and heat it up to shrink. Unfortunately, I run into a bit of a snafu. The Scotch tape prevents the heat shrink from shrinking enough. So how do I keep the wires from moving around at one end? I use some hot glue on one end to solidify it. It's not the prettiest solution, but the internal wiring isn't moving. Well, that's all for this time. As I come up with more projects that I've tackled over the years, I'll be sure to post them. In the meantime, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons so my videos can get noticed. Feel free to donate through my Patreon so that I can continue to make videos on my spare time. Goodbye.